Well, many think of December as the season of giving. Most voluntary welfare organizations say their volunteers turn up all year round. This comes as the National Volunteer and Philanthropy Centre says Singapore sees a record number of volunteers in 2012 compared to 2010. Its survey, conducted once every 2 years, shows 1 in 3 people volunteered last year compared to 1 in 5 in 2010. Leong Wai Kit meets some passionate volunteers for this story.
Some people love to volunteer, and there are some who found love while volunteering.
I think one of the more important qualities I look for in a man actually is really humility and someone who has a heart for others.
And those were the qualities Fiona Shi noticed 5 years ago in her then-boyfriend Goh Pui Yong when they started volunteering together.
It was his humility and then how he's very nice to the people that we've met. He goes all out to help people. So I think that was probably one of the reasons why I thought, okay, this is a very good mate. I always think that I want to teach my son Matthew what's more important is really to be a kind person.
Today, the couple still volunteer together, such as buying groceries for charities along with their 2-year-old boy. The goals are just 2 of a rising number of Singaporeans who volunteer.
People are more aware of the needs in the community, and also there's greater awareness of the various issues, opportunities, as well as venues where people can actually go in and volunteer.
But NVPC's survey also showed a lack of regular volunteers. 7 in 10 do so occasionally rather than weekly or monthly.
But it's not uncommon for volunteerism to take a back seat when youths eventually join the workforce. And the more time they spend on their careers, chances are the less time they have for volunteer work. But that's starting to change. Now, according to the National Volunteer and Philanthropy Centre, or the NVPC, in the last 3 to 5 years, it's seeing more working adults making time for volunteer work. And that's why the NVPC set up a special team called the Corporate Community Investment Team in 2011 to cater just to this group of volunteers.
NVPC used to get about 100 calls a year from companies asking about volunteer opportunities. Today, the figure is nearly 5 times more. Also on the rise, the number of retiree volunteers. A former nurse, 72-year-old Elsie Koh, retired in December last year. Apart from travelling every month with her husband, Elsie still makes time for charity, something she's been doing for 55 years since she was 17.
I am tired, but it's good. You see, it makes people happy. You bring more people. You see, when I come back, so many young ones doing it. You see, you should see our WhatsApp. All the ladies, fantastic.
Elsie's current project, making handicraft items to raise funds for the Singapore Cancer Society.
Volunteers add a special dimension, okay, far and above what paid staff can do. We as paid staff, people will say, well, you're paid, that's your job. They bring their own special warmth, their own skills, and passion to actually augment what we do.
For organizations like the Cancer Society, volunteers are vital resources. It sees about 1,300 volunteers a year, most of whom help out at least 4 hours a week. Some 35% of them are active volunteers who spend more than 10 hours a week. Of these, some 20 people spend about 50 hours a week volunteering.
Studies have shown that people are happier when they give. But volunteering is not always smooth sailing. Some suffer from burnout, while others may be emotionally affected.
I think for people who volunteer, they do things that is not immediately involved in their life. So they may volunteer at hospice, experiencing different experiences that are maybe negative and can stir up emotions.
Experts say some of the warning signs of being burnt out include becoming more negative after the volunteering stint.
When a person is overwhelmed with emotions, there are actually many thoughts behind these emotions. Yeah, firstly, I think it's also to talk it out with somebody else. As you're sharing and you're actually having different perspective, then you can actually stir up some positive emotions through that experience that you have.
A way to have feedback, like things like this. That's why.
And at the Singapore Cancer Society, volunteers gather at the end of every activity to give feedback.
When you come together, right, you can't tell the difference, who's the trainer.
It's part of the process to ensure they aren't burnt out.
We kind of keep track, are you all right or not? Because before we start any activity, there's always a briefing, and then at the end, there's always a debrief. So we gather everybody, so how has it been, how do you feel, those kind of things. Any feedback, any issues. If there are problems, you can let us know, and then we can address it.
For some, the experience they derived from volunteering helped turn their own lives around.
Only when I come to poly, right, I actually almost got expelled from school because I got involved in fights, and the discipline committee was involved and my parents were involved. They were quite disappointed in me, and then my grades was also quite bad at that time. I actually did sort of a self-reflection, and I think, do I really want to be a bad boy for the rest of my life? And then if I keep getting into fights, I might get expelled from school. And not just that, what about my future? What type of job do I want to do in the future? And if I continue this bad boy path, will I get a job I want?
The turning point in Sebastian's life was when a friend introduced him to volunteer work at this neighborhood activity center. Sebastian would help out once every 2 weeks at its herb garden. His work involved tending to herbs and vegetables which will be consumed by elderly residents at the center.
I never thought about volunteering. I also didn't expect myself to be a volunteer. I'm quite glad that I actually did volunteering. I think this is a very great platform for us, especially youth, right, to discover ourselves. Not just to help others, we can actually learn new skills. I realized that there are things in life that is not just about being a bad boy or rebellious. You can do something meaningful for the society. I realized that I'm more aware of my surroundings, more aware of the people's emotion.
The 19-year-old won a National Youth Achievement Award for starting an environmental education project at a children's home. And soon, Sebastian plans to pursue a related degree that will help him kickstart a career in social work.
One of the aims of the NVPC is to make Singapore a more compassionate society. Now, while it says there's always room for improvement, Singapore is definitely making progress. For example, in the past few years, it's seeing more Singaporeans coming up with initiatives to help those around them. And those who volunteer tell me that whether volunteerism is formalized or expressed in informal ways, all it takes is a conscious effort to remind ourselves that we can make a difference if we want to.
Oh, that's a real thumbs up for philanthropy. This has been Singapore Tonight. Good night.